with that introduction. Now Jack is doing the good thing. Yes, Jack, you recorded the important thing, the blah blah blah. Well, then we're not gonna record anything because everything is blah 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 here. But as we're gonna do a little bit of blah 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 together, you guys stopped your daily activities. You came from places from the center, which is extremely, extremely appreciate. Okay, I'm so happy when I see people at the center, even though I'm not there, because the center is there for that also, for us to create community, for us to bond, for us to be together, and to have a space of being together. That's the reason why the center exists. And of course, when I'm there, if we don't create these, then the center, there's no place. So then there's no need for people to come. So there's no need for people to come to the center. Even teachers don't come to the center. So if we go to the center, means the center still exists. So people come, and then the teachers also come to the center. So that's very good. But once you guys start with that, then, as we always say, is we need to make sure that the time we're going to spend together, it's meaningful. Meaningful in the sense that it's going to create a different result than the result that we have now if we don't think about intention. If we don't think about intention, that means that the status quo, that the habitual tendencies that is going to lead us to the result of this time together will just continue to be the habitual tendencies that we have right now. And what are these habitual tendencies that we have right now? Mm, Very important to realize. So important to realize that when we are not paying attention to our intention, we are just keep arising and letting, this very strong sense of I and me take control. And then whatever it is that is happening, normally it doesn't create the necessary result that we are willing or that we really want to have, which is happiness, peace. But not only momentarily peace, momentarily happiness. We want a lasting type of happiness, a happiness that goes all the time, that it doesn't change depending on the weather or depending on our mood or depending on our raisins for porridge or not, or the coffee and this and that or whatever it is happening in the world, but that our mind is a stable ground where from where we have that stability, that peace, that happiness, and that we can manifest. Yes? From that, we can manifest our body, we can manifest our speech, our actions of body, we can manifest our talk, our speech, yes, and even our thoughts from that peace and calmness. That's what we want to do. So if we don't create the intention, if we don't create or direct the intention, therefore, what we're going to do is just happening what is happening now. And what is happening right now in our lives? If we really analyze it, really, 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 with a little bit of, let's have a look. Let's be honest here. We are constantly dissatisfied. We are constantly with that sense that there is something missing. We are constantly with that sense that it's never enough. Yeah? That feeling that there's something missing that we need to find somewhere, in someone, in something that will bring us what we are craving, what we desire from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah? And that's what's our lives right now. Going from moment by moment, place by place, people by people, people from people to people, from place by place, from food to food, from job, from car, from house, from phone, like this. That's what we do. Hmm? So here, these classes, they have the potential, if we want, to transform that, to help us, each of us individually, at and as a community to transform that chasing, yes, the chasing for that happiness, that stable, long lasting, peaceful happiness. So to stop chasing it outside and start transforming and creating and developing inner tools that will give us that, to give us what we actually want. So that is what we're going to do here. That's what we're doing here all of this time. If you haven't understand that, I'm so sorry. It's my fault because I'm a very confused person. But I hope that is clear now that that's what we do here. We are not creating more outside, la la land happiness. We are creating the tools and the inner wisdom to achieve that stable, long lasting, peaceful happiness. And to achieve that, we need to do two things mainly, or only, if we can say that. We need to understand what is blocking us from having that, right? We need to understand where is the cause, the root cause for what is blocking us to have that. Yeah? So we can eliminate this. And at the same time, we have to develop, or we have to train in developing that stability, that, kind of peaceful, that, the causes for for that stability, for that peaceful happiness to arise. Does it make sense? Are we communicating? Yes. Is anyone new for the first time over there? Someone new?
That's me.
Okay. What is your name?
Johanna.
Johanna. So Johanna online, and then we have someone at the center, but I can't hear her. It's muted. Jack.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome, Johanna
Thank
and
you.
Michelle. Welcome to our party. So whatever I'm saying, first thing, as they all know, don't take for granted. Don't believe in anything I say. First thing, yeah, especially what I say. Okay, maybe there's incredible monks and nuns. Maybe you can hear to them more and then really kind of like believe in them. But what I say, don't believe in anything. You use your logic, your analysis, right? You use your mental faculties to investigate, to analyze, to check if that makes sense, what I'm saying. And the way to check if it makes sense, what I'm saying, is try to apply to your own mind and to your own life what I'm saying, and try to check if that benefits you. And the benefit is comparing like what you have now, okay, to that idea of a long lasting, stable, peaceful happiness. Is it bringing more that, or is it bringing more what I have, more what I already have now? The dissatisfaction, that always chasing dissatisfied mind. Hmm? So that's how you compare. That's how you check if what I'm saying it makes it sense and beneficial. Okay? So that's the most important thing. So don't believe in anything I say. Maybe today you might not understand 100% of what I'm saying, but it doesn't matter. You just check that, whatever you take it, whatever you hear, whatever you listen to, and then you try to apply to your own mind. Okay? Does it make sense? Yes.
Yes.
Great. That's most important. So in order for us, in order for us to be ready to do that, we need to create, we need to determine, we need to direct our intention. That's what we started to talk about, right? So directing our intention give us the opportunity to really, 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 really create the conditions and creating the conditions for that result to come about. If we don't create an intention, as I said in the beginning, then the result is just going to be what we have right now, that constant dissatisfaction. So, two things here, what is happening, so we make clear what is happening. We need to establish the result, and we need to establish the cause for that result. Yes? So establishing the result means I need to know where I want to go. I need to decide what I want with my life. I need to really pay attention to my mind and say, what do I want in my life? Do I just want to continue, chasing and striving and be dissatisfied with everything that happens in my life, or never satisfied, never enough, or I want to have that stable peace, a long lasting happiness, right? I want to have that. And I want to be free at the same time from all of those things that hinder, yes, that block my happiness. And not only block the happiness, but creates that dissatisfaction, creates that. If I want that, then I need to create the causes for it. And the causes for it, normally in our mind and in our daily lives, are what we say, you know, create external conditions, external things in order to get that. But here, the Buddhist teachings are saying, no, 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 no. First, we start with the mind, because every external thing that happens, that exists, comes first from the mind. That is a big thing to say, but it is true. Everything that you see in the supermarket, everything that you see everywhere in the world, first came about, from the mind. Hmm? That's difficult to see, but it's true. Someone had to have the idea first and then make it happen, isn't it? Material things, they have to. The airplane didn't create it. Nobody not someone thought about it, right? I always think about airplanes because, well, first because I take a lot of them, but second because they are like crazy things, like a bunch of metal, like flying around the globe. If you think about it, completely nuts, right? So all of these has been created by someone's mind. Hmm? But not only like, like material things, but also things like, as I like to say, we have all of these problems in the world, like famine and kind of like, or environmental problems. Even that has been created by the mind. Why? Because if you think about it, why do we have, any problems like environmental problems or kind of like, economical problems? They were just there without any problem, without any causes? No. The mind created. Which mind? The mind of greed, the mind of like, possession, the mind of attachment, the mind of me. I want more and more and more and more, and not thinking about the cause and effect relationship of this mind in the world. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? So
Yes, it
that
does.
is also created by the mind. So if we understand that, we start to really having to say, you know, my mind is extremely powerful. The mind is extremely, powerful in two senses. In a negative one, to make me and others suffer, and to make me and others to find happiness if I want to. So the main tool that we use in Buddhism, the main thing that we are trying to transform is the mind. We are not so worried about transforming the external world. Why? Because it's easy. We are just a little bit logical. If everything that is created externally first comes from the mind, if I then focus on changing the mind, the result will come about. I don't need to worry. Does it make sense what I just said? Do you
Yes.
understand? Yes? So
Yes.
that's why Buddhists are not really, well, some Buddhists like me, they're lazy, you know? But Buddhists is not like lazy, say that we don't want to kind of like change the environment. We don't want to kind of like, but our focus first, it's in the source of the creation, which is our mind. Yeah? The reason why we are establishing and understanding and using, training the mind is because the mind is the creator of the external aspects of external relationship with the environment. Yes? So that's why it's so important to understand that the mind has the potential to either harm this relationship or make this relationship with external factors like people, like the environment, like, everything else to be beneficial. So we have both, right? We have these two possibilities, either to make this connection between ourselves and others, ourselves and the environment, ourselves and others, yeah, and external objects. To be beneficial means if our minds are trained and are actually using, then we can develop. Yes? So in Buddhism, that's why we say that creating the intention, giving the direction is so important. Okay? So all of this is an introduction to say, let's create an intention, the positive intention. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we take so long to do this, but it's so important that we understand what we are doing when we are making, creating the intention. So important. If we don't understand why, like, this crazy monk is stopping and saying, okay, let's wait for 1 minute. So I invite all of you to just stop for one moment. Yes. You don't need to be like in perfect meditation posture, like a rock or whatever. Just think for a moment, take a moment of deep breath and just try to be, a little bit more inwards. So if you want to close your eyes, if you want to sit straight, if you want to do anything, just one moment. And maybe just stopping and calming the mind and the body for a few moments already helps to become more aware of what's going on in our own mind. And remember that mind means not only thoughts, but also emotions, sensations, all of our, as we call, mental activity, our inner experiences. So maybe if we look into our day, especially you guys that are in Florida and right now in the evening, you can try to look at your day and maybe check, the quality of your mind during your day. Maybe you had moments of, relaxation and maybe happy moments, but also maybe you had some, anxious moments, angry moments that were not so nice. And maybe it feels right now that we don't have control of what happens to us, of how we react to situations, to things, to people, what people say, what people do. And maybe we might think that we cannot, influence or change the external problems, the external, you know, issues that are happening in the world and in our lives right now. And it's true, maybe right now we can't, but we can change our inner experience of them. We can transform the way we experience, interact, and respond to them. That is in our control if we want to. So if we want to achieve that understanding, that, making that relationship with the external situations, objects, people, our relationships, to be beneficial for us and for others, then we need to train and understand how our minds work. So that's why we're here today. We are here to create the necessary causes and conditions to better understand, to develop this wisdom, and to understand and develop the methods to train our own minds, so we can finally find that stable, long-lasting, peaceful happiness, and to be free from the constant dissatisfaction that we live in. So we're going to try to listen to what we are talking, what we are listening, to talk what we're talking, to do what we do with that intention. And the more we do it with that intention, the closer we get to the result. It's as simple as that. And when you're ready then, with that intention, we can open the eyes, we can then continue what we were talking about. Does it make sense, the intention? Yes?
Yes.
Always good to also have a little bit of a stop, every once in a while. You guys come. And then during the day. Very good. Very, very good. So for us to start developing, that understanding of the mind, one of the most important points for us to actually develop and understand, it's really, 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 really trying to understand this, what we call, how can I put it in a way that it seems obvious? When we were now thinking about it, our intention, and we were thinking, oh, my life, and I'm thinking about this, there is that very strong sense of what we, or who we are. isn't it? That very strong, powerful sense of I, of me. Hmm? So, when we were sitting and doing the intention, maybe, right now there's this me sitting here, someone is sitting here. Hmm? That feeling of like of there's always that sense of me going on. Even when we do some meditation, what we um how do we call that, the person who is in sports, there is the narrator, how do you get that, narrating the
The
announcement,
announcer, the
when you
commentator.
the commentator, when they're kind of like when you're watching football or whatever, and they were like, oh, and then this person throws the ball to this person and that
Yeah,
person
the
and this,
commentator.
the commentator, yes. So we have a very big sense of commentator inside our minds, isn't it? That is commenting on every single thing, that experiences that we see, that we do. Especially with time, when we start to train observing these, right? We can see that whenever we arrive somewhere, we immediately x-ray the place, we look and we start like the commenting section of this person looks like this, oh, I don't like that, oh, wow, this is nice. Yes, do you know that chatting part of our minds? Yes, there's always that chatting with you, even though you don't want. You want to go to sleep, and there's there chatting because this person did that to me today, and then yeah, I know, but I just want to sleep right now. But no, no, yeah. Do you know? Do you recognize that? Yeah, that one. Our friend in the yellow T-shirt over there, she's like, yes, 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 I understand that. So that is extremely important for us to start recognizing and starting investigating, starting checking if it makes sense, that relationship that we have with that sense of us in our minds, the sense of I, the sense of me. Why? Because what Buddhism is going to say is that if we don't investigate that sense of I, if we don't check if that sense of I is actually beneficial the way it's happening and appearing to us, we're just going to continue having the same results again and again, right? So if we don't investigate if that sense of I is like a beneficial expression of our minds, if it is something that it's appearing from an intention to bring happiness and to bring long-lasting happiness and to eradicate, our dissatisfaction. If we don't observe, if we don't check if that is the intention where it comes from, then if we don't analyze, we're just going to continue having the same problems again and again. And that's what happened to us. We don't analyze our lives. We don't analyze the way we exist. We don't analyze the way this sense of I and me really happens. So then, after 20 years, and then 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, like Bob, then we are still having the same problems, right? It's just happening the same things. And we say, oh my God, here I am again. Same situation, different people, different house, different car, different, relationship, different everything, but the same inner experience. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Do you recognize that sometimes you feel that you're like, you're stuck? Oh my God, again, am I again repeating the same patterns? Why? Because we are not investigating that I. Hmm? Why? Because, we don't really realize how this I, this me really exists, how is it's formed, how it is composed, and how it appears. We just simply have that sense that there is always an observer, right? Or the narrator. It's two things that we always think it is there. The observer, there's someone observing us, that we are observing our experiences, that there's something like that, and there's a narrator talking, and then plays like this. So we don't check if this is really beneficial for us. And because we don't check, then we have the same results again and again. Yeah? So why it is important? Hmm? Someone has a question there? No? Okay. So if why it is important? Yes? Why is important for us to actually look into it? Why the Buddha, this enlightened being sitting in this under the Bodhi tree and then coming out, over there and saying, oh, I need to teach something so I can help others to enlighten themselves. Why does the Buddha talked about analyzing the sense of I, right? Well, because if we think about our lives, if someone says something very nice about, a compliment about your looks, about your, about something that you've done, about something like this I becomes very happy. Yes? This sense of I becomes like, wow, I'm amazing. I'm so happy. Everything's so nice. I can do everything. I'm Superman, Superwoman, like this. But someone says, oh, you look fat. Oh, you look like this. Oh, you look like that. Oh, you didn't do this well. Oh, you did that. Someone criticizes you, and then this sense of I becomes like a, yes, something that really, even it within ourselves, right? Or we don't need anyone externally to do that. A thought pops up and it starts, you look yourself in the mirror and then you say, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my, I'm not doing like this. And then this sense of I becomes negative. And then from that sense of I that is seen as negative, everything that we do, remember, with our body, speech, and mind, because this is the beginning of the external actions, they come from the sense of me. So if I'm seeing myself in a negative way, then everything that I'm going to do is going to be influenced. Yes? It's going to be determined. It's going to be contaminated by this way of seeing myself. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? Are we following? Lauren? Yes.
Yes.
So it's important that we observe that. But even if I'm seeing myself in a positive way, we need to check if this is also not like a completely um, over positive seeing of ourselves, like a arrogant and kind of like a, how do you say, arrogant or a presumption or kind of like, idea of ourselves that's like, I can do that all the time. When we are seeing ourselves in a completely non realistic way. Yes. So because the Buddha said, why is it important for us to do that? Why? Because how do we decide our day-to-day lives? We decide our day-to-day lives by how we can protect, defend, promote, worry about, fear. Hmm? That's what we do. We fear from this I constantly, this sense of I all the time. Yes? And how does this sense of I really appears to us? It appears as being something extremely, extremely solid, extremely fixed. Yes? Absolutely real. Hmm? When someone says something that insults us, it feels so solid and real. There's like, even almost we feel physically that something got hurt, isn't it? Yes? Try to remember last time someone said something to you that really, hurt you. Hmm? It's always easy with people insulting us because that's when the I really goes like, you know? So, or we got criticized, criticism, why is the best? Like, someone criticize you and it, immediate, the dragon, as I say, comes out. Isn't it? It's like that. It just immediately comes out. Johnny's like, yes, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, rah, you know? So that is the perfect moment for us to observe, yes, and try to really observe how this feeling, yes, of something, that we call I, that we call me, it's absolutely real, solid. I am like that, right? That feeling. And we never, ever question it. Yes? So, what Buddhism is trying to say, the Buddhist philosophy, what Buddha was trying to tell us is that, oh, then this I doesn't exist. That's what he's trying to say. No, he's not saying that. He's not saying that the I doesn't exist at all. He's just saying, yes, something that is a little bit more interesting and more subtle, that the I that we assume exists, this solid, independent, existing from its own side, that continuity that we seem so concrete, right? Do not exist in the way we think. There is an I, but it's not in the way that we are experiencing it. That's what the Buddha was trying to say, right? I'm going to give an example that maybe it's easy for us to understand what the Buddha was trying to say. When we look at a river, yes, when we just look at the river, we say, this is the river. And then we say, oh, this is a very beautiful river. And we start walking, or even if we are stopped, we were sitting on one place and just observing the river. We look up and we say, oh, look, the river is coming like this, like that, and then it's passing here. And then the river is continue like this, right? Isn't it? We call it the river. We're gonna go, no, when I'm there, we're gonna go to the Peace River, something like this. I don't remember the name, but something like that. But if we actually observe the water that is passing in front of us, is it the same water all the time? Is it a fixed, solid water? Or is every moment flowing a different water? And that flowing, ever changing, moment by moment changing, it's what we call river. But if we try to pinpoint which of these molecules of water is the river, none of them are, because they are always changing. In the same way, this I that I call it so fixed, solid, it's a continuity of moments that are changing moment by moment. But none of them is as solid and findable that I can say I, like it happens to our experience. Does it make sense? Did I lose Michelle and Johanna totally? Did I make their minds go complete like this?
Not at all.
No?
How is it flowing? How is our eye flowing?
Yes, very good question. How is the I flowing? The I is dependent on the body and dependent on the mind. So the I is just a name that we give, yes, to these two things that are called the body and the mind. And these two things are in their own nature changing moment by moment, right? Very easy to see that the body is changing moment by moment. It's easy to see that the body we were born with and the body we're gonna die with, if we have 100 years, it's not the same. It changed. So it's changing moment by moment. Even if we don't think it is changing moment by moment, day by day, minute by minute. Our cells are changing every day. That's what makes us, grow old. That's why, the cells they're starting, they kind of like the new cells start to become more than the old cells until one point of life, and then the opposite starts happening, right? That's what the body starts to decay, let's call like this, right? The mind, well, for me, the mind is even easier to see how it changes. How the way we wake up and the way we're going to sleep. I think probably we have 150,000 different moods, 150,000 different kind of like, thoughts, 150,000 ideas, 150,000 feelings, emotions, isn't it? So which of that moment, those moments, those thoughts, those emotions, those memories, those, anything that you experience is the I? Fixed? No, there's no fixed, solid, right? And guess what? If we change a little bit, then the way that the mind works, let's say we train it a little bit to be a bit more happy, then the I becomes happy. Or when it goes to Publix and get the BOGO it wants, also becomes happy, right? So right now, this sense of I is completely an idea that we have. It's only what it is. But now it's a solid, fixed idea. And what Buddhist teachings are trying to say, maybe, right? Why I'm kind of like, maybe what we're doing is just like to look into this I in a more fluid way, right? So Sydney is asking a question. If we are constantly changing through thoughts and experiences, why can we not still say I am changing? Why omit the I? Oh, we are not omitting the I. Never. We are not making. This is a great way of, that's a great debate, Sydney. When Buddha is saying that we do not have the I the way it appears, it's not saying we do not have the I. It's just don't have the I in this fixed, permanent, solid, inherent way that it appears to us. Right? And how can we prove that we have that? You ask your friends, how do they see you? You write down, how do you see yourself? La 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 la. And then you ask your friends to say about you. And you're gonna have things that don't match over there. Right? So if there was a solid I the way you believe you are, what would be the result, the logic result? If I am kind, if I am nice, because of course, when we're going to write about who we are and how we are, only the good things, right? We're never going to write down our neuroses. I am neurotic. I am like this. We never do that. We always say, I am amazing. I am great. I am this, right? So if we're going to do that, if we really start to check if this is real, what the logic statement would be is that if this is really who I am, this solid fixed idea of me who I am, then every single person in the universe who has an interaction with me should feel that I am like that. And I have to say that when you don't get what you want and you are in a bad mood, you are not the kind and fluffy person that you think you are. You know, when the dragon comes out, you are not like that. So that idea is what Buddhism is trying to tell us, right? Don't fix, don't hold, don't grasp to a specific sense of I, because the I is a never changing experience. And what is going to change that experience is the way we see it, the way we perceive it, right? So that is the important part. If we are seeing as fixed, then we are we are really holding to something that is like, it's almost like I want the river for myself. So I try to get water in my hands and I try to keep the river in my hands. And what happens? It just goes away. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes, Bob.
Doesn't it seem fixed every moment?
What do you mean?
Doesn't our sense of I appear to us every moment as fixed?
Yes. And that is exactly the problem.
I'm just asking.
Yeah. This is exactly the problem. That's exactly. But look, Bob, realizing that what you just asked, which is looks extremely simple, but it's exactly what it is. Realizing that is the tool. Every moment of our lives. You know, it's harder when we are just in the day to day, but when something, triggers the dragon of the eye, that's the best moment for us to realize how it appears. Hmm? But it's true, as you say, every single moment we are with this stable sense of I fixed. I am like that, right? So we go to the supermarket and we have that strong sense of I. We go driving and have this strong sense of I. We go eating, we go shopping, we go doing everything. They have this strong sense of I, moment by moment. And that is what is kind of like guiding us, right? Instead of having that kind of like saying situation, John, what just a sec, we have that situation of saying, in this situation, that I acts in this way. In that situation, this I acts in that way. This situation, this I acts in that way. Because it's a fluid thing. So therefore, there's freedom and not tightness. It's the opposite. The reality is the opposite of what we feel. We would not feel tense. We would not feel tension. We would not feel tightness if we understand this sense of I being completely open, fluid. Yes, Bob, continue, and then we go to John.
Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. It's not something that we think, and this question looks like you being cheeky because I know you now for
Was it
almost
cheating?
no, cheeky. Because I know you for 3 years, almost 3 years now, and I've seen you starting to change the sense of I. When you arrived, you were like, I am like this. And now you're a little bit more fluid, more open, more kind of like realizing that, things work in a certain different way and you need to adapt, you know? With this person, you talk a little bit more like this. That person, you talk a little bit more like that. You don't have that sense, so strong sense of me. It still is there, yes, but a little bit less, right? So that is exactly what we need to start doing it. in our lives, we start to observe how kind of like by relaxing that sense of I, who is the biggest winner of that? Us, right? And then others, because the way we're going to interact with others is going to come from a more realistic experience. So definitely possible, right? Johnny, you have a question.
How does the ego play into it,
Yes.
into the I?
So the ego is the external, which is not external, let's say like totally external, but is the manifestation of the sense of I, right? So the ego, what we say in Buddhism, is that manifestation of the sense of I, right? The I needs to manifest in a certain way. So the ego, with all its neuroses and all of these kind of like ideas and components and identifications, right? And the ego is that what is kind of like manifesting in a certain way. So we say that the ego is like we don't, in Buddhism we don't have, let's say, like that sense of ego. We just say the I, the sense of I, right? But in Western society we have that idea of the ego, which is very important that we differentiate from sometimes a psychological type of ego, but is that sense of I manifesting in the world. That's what we would call the ego in Buddhism, right? So all of those kind of like habits that we call ourselves, all of these situations that we keep repeating, that's what we would call the ego. The ego is just a repetition of the sense of I, in a certain format. Yeah, if that makes
I
any
understand.
sense. Yeah. So the ego is a kind of like an outer layer, but that sense of I that we are talking about is a very subtle experience. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about it. So that's what I'm saying. When someone criticizes us, it's easy. We say, oh, the ego got it. Like, your ego got activated or something like this. But the ego only got, hurt because there is this sense of fixed, inherent, permanent, solid sense of I, underneath it. Yeah, which is creating that solidification. And someone is actually trying to say, because, like, for example, oh, I'm a monk, so I'm a very holy and kind and, and amazing person. That's how Kalden sees himself, completely nuts, because Kalden is nuts, so Kalden is nothing like this. But, and then someone says, oh, you are very aggressive, which is completely the opposite of how I see myself, right? So there's a shock in there, right? There's a kind of like a disruption of that sense of I that I have about myself. So that's why criticism hurts, because there's a way fixed, very strong idea of how Cowden sees himself, and whatever is coming different than that is shocking, is creating a friction with that sense of I. If you say, oh, you are very generous, you are very this, then this is kind of like enhancing that idea of myself. So then, oh, okay, then I like it, right? I accept that. So then what do I do? Is that, oh, you become my friend. I like you. I'm gonna treat you like well, because you're helping that sense of I become more stable, more fixed, more solid. So in Buddhism, we say that our best friends are those that actually help us to see the solid, fixed idea of the I. And normally, who are doing this to us? The person who criticizes us. Did you understand, Johnny?
I didn't understand the part where you say the people that criticize us.
So the
I
person who
understood you all the way
criticizes
up to there.
So the person who criticizes us is our best friend, to help us see how we're holding, grasping to a solid way of seeing ourselves.
Oh, okay. They are in bed with
Right?
us, basically.
They are our best friends in this way, right? Because the way that they say something and the sense of I, the ego pops up, that is the moment that we can say, oh, look at this, you know? Look at these who look at these the way that I'm seeing myself, the way I'm grasping to a sense of I in myself. Does it make sense what I just said?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So this is
Can, can,
extremely,
can I ask you one other question based off the eye?
yes, follow up. Yes.
I notice that a lot of people get into the trap of being defiant. Are they getting into the trap of being defiant because they are just stubborn with their eyes?
Can you explain what you mean by that? By defiant?
Defiant, refuse to do the right thing, or refuse to stay within the boundaries.
Mm-hmm. So are we talking about we I'm trying to understand, so I'm trying to make
Yeah.
sure that I'm gonna understand. Give me an example so I can check. Because I think I'm understanding and I want to check. Give me an example, please.
I'm thinking
What is making you ask this question?
because I get a sense that a lot of people turn negative, and then when you sit back and observe it,
Mm,
you sense just a defiance. Which the reason I thought of that is because you're talking about the eye, and the eye
mhm,
within me. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to do what I want to do, even though
mhm,
that other thing is going to get me at a better place. But I'm not going to do it that way because I'm
mhm.
stubborn with my cycle of thinking.
Mm.
I don't know if
Okay.
you understood what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, 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 yeah. So let me see. It's like it's not necessarily a defiance, but it's actually a habitual tendency, right? To actually transform that sense of I, it's a really big deal. To put into questioning that maybe the the um, the methods that we are using in order to please or in order to get, the I satisfied, you know, are not necessarily working. And that is a big wake up call already. Hmm? Normally, we need big things happening in our lives to actually arise into this understanding. Hmm? That we need change, that we might need, to kind of like have something that maybe is not working for ourselves. Because that's the thing that we are kind of like, it's important for us to also bring what Lama Yeshe always used to say. The problem of seeing the eye in a very fixed, solid way is that what we are doing with the real experience of our minds is that we are restricting it. We are containing it. We are completely creating a very narrow experience of the potential we have because we can actually have and be whatever we want. So, when we are really restricting our view of ourselves into a box, into a certain way of existing, what we are creating, it's a it's a um, impossible, let's say like this, way to achieve the long-lasting happiness that we want. So what we do is that we fear coming out of this contained way of seeing and of ourselves, and actually exploring a possibility, another possibility of existing and being, which would bring much more happiness and, real satisfaction. So the problem is that we are so contained in our view of ourselves that we actually, not being able to fulfill our most deepest desire of being long-lasting happy. So that is the problem. The contain is not because people are like, defiant of themselves, like a stubborn, It's because they are afraid of changing, afraid of seeing that actually their own minds have the potential to be completely free from this very narrow idea of themselves. And guess what, Johnny? We also do that. We also restrain ourselves. We also really, see ourselves in a very, very narrow way. Right? So this is one of the biggest causes of our own suffering. Lama Yeshe, one of our teachers, I think he's on the left-hand side over there in the altar. Jack? Yes?
He's
He's on the
yeah,
left.
he's up there.
He's up there.
Or
If you
no,
look
left or right.
if you look it over there, you look at the left, if I have a good memory. So then, oh, the right, can remember. So then Lamayesh used to say, this mind that is saying impossible, 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 I cannot do it, I cannot do it, I cannot do it. This mind we need to eliminate from the universe. We need to explode it from the universe. Because actually, when we understand that the I is dependent of the body and the mind, so then we start to understand that if we create the necessary causes and conditions, if we change the causes and conditions, then the body and the mind changes. Therefore, we can have a different result. So the more I understand that, the more I understand that this sense of I is not something fixed, but is dependent on causes and conditions, the more I can actually, relax, be free, have freedom. So again, it's this I that we assume solid, independent, existing fixed in a fixed way. That is what doesn't exist. But there is an I that comes about through cause and effect. Hmm? No. So when we say, oh, I cannot, this I doesn't exist, we understand there's like, oh, then nothing exists. No. The I exists as a functioning, dependent, arising. We say dependent arising means arises in dependence on cause and conditions, right? Like a river, right? It's like it's doing its job, it's continue going, is coming moment by moment. But is the same water from moment by moment? No. There's no fixed, independent riverness, right? It exists dependently, flowing. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what you're basically saying is our mind we have to keep in a state of being flexible.
Definitely is one thing that I'm saying. Yes. And I was watching another day something on neuroscientist saying that the mind and the brain are so pliable. Yes, it can like a pliancy means it changes so much that if we really would understand that, that would give us already a sense of freedom. And I said, this is exactly what Buddhism is trying to tell it. Right? So the mind and even the brain, that is very special, you know, has this pliancy. It means it's changeable. It's literally physically changeable, right? And the mind means the more conceptual experience, not the physical, right? It's the same. And the more we understand that flexibility, the more we actually, the happier we become, the more free we become. We've become free from what? And that's what we need to understand. Free from what? What is actually we are becoming? From a wrong idea that we are not flexible, that we are fixed, that we are solid. That's what we are free from. Because that is what is keeping us not happy. If I actually believe that I need to be in a certain way all the time and it's suffocating, right? Lama Zopa used to say something for the directors of the centers, that I always like to say because I always think it's a very good meditation on the I. He says, especially, we have some Buddhist centers around the world that are part from the same organization that Thubten, Kunga, Ling are. Even in America, we have places like Land of Medicine Buddha in California, or we have a center in Vermont. They are very big places, right? Like with people living there, and it's very special places. And the Lama Zopa used to say, when you go out, the director, when you go out to the office or when you go out in the center, you feel that you have a target in your back because everybody's going to say that it's your fault, everything, right? And if we have that idea and you try to practice then meditation on how the I do not exist, right? So people are all seeing you with the target, with this idea. But if you don't see yourself like that, and you see yourself flexible, and you don't see yourself in a certain rigid way, then you're going to be able to be flexible and be, how do you say, adapting to that situation where this person needs that, and this person needs another thing, and this person needs another thing, and this person needs another thing. So you have that spacious mind where you can deal with the situations and not that you have that idea that I need to be in a certain way and I am this way and I have to do, and everybody that is against this, then doomed, doomed for suffering, you know? So that is so important that we start to establish that real understanding of how we exist, how this sense of I really exist, this not fixed, not, really rigid. Yes. Why? Because that is the reason why we protect, defend, promote ourselves, worry, fear. Yeah. Every moment of our day is organized about securing this, I keeping it safe, because I am like this, I should be like this, I need to enhance this sense of I. Right? And every negative emotion that arises, like anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, is in the service. We can say like this, to promote and protect this sense of I that we have. Right? Yes, Mr. Bob.
I gotta figure out how to say this.
I like it already.
How do you not have the experience of deluding yourself that you think you're being flexible and adaptable by not having that sense of I, and you move right into your next sense of I. And so it's, but you don't recognize it. You think that you're flexible and adaptable when in reality, it's the same delusion all over again.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. And there's nothing to say besides that's how it is in the beginning, right? And then you just go recognizing it again and again. Mm. And then you just go kind of like letting go and undoing that wrong idea, right? Again and again, moment by moment. So that's why it's important that we actually establish that understanding first, by studying, by contemplating, by understanding it. And then with time, when we really start to understand what that means, we start to actually, what we say, familiarizing. That's what meditation means, right? We familiarize with ourselves, that idea. So then instead of being a constant mental effort, to remember and to bring about that understanding, oh, I need to remember, oh, it just effortless arises, right? So with time, even though you kind of like you catch yourself, even though this sense of eyes keep popping up, right? This sense of I so strong, dependent, independent and fixed and solid starts to let it to be a little bit like more soft, a little bit more pliable, a little bit more like this. And then when it becomes rigid again, you just go again, right? That is the thing. Until we completely can eliminate that. We still have an I, we still function, we still say, I am going this, I am doing this, I like this, I don't like that, but it doesn't come from this I fixed sense of me. Yeah? It comes from a conventional need, a daily understanding that right now these eyes like this, that eyes like that eyes like this, I'm doing this, and then, that causes and conditions that change, and therefore this I functions and works in this way. Training, moment by moment. That's best training we can do. Better than this together we go into the gym. Very good. You can do this in the gym. That's even better. You go to the gym and you think about the I. Look at how I am seeing myself. Oh, I'm so here. I'm so like that. You do two for the price of one. When you have Dharma, everything becomes two, everything becomes BOGO because you do everything you're doing, but you're actually training the mind. Everything is amazing.
Buddhist Bogo.
Buddhist BOGO, exactly. Steve, you wanted to add something?
Yes, thank you. I just had a thought about Bob, about your question. And I liked what you said near the beginning about investigate.
Mm,
And I think perhaps that this, like getting out of this pattern of sort of telling yourself that you've changed, you're not, whatever, it comes from that thing about the definition of insanity, that
mm,
you doing the same thing over and over, that if you've Bob, the sense I'm getting is that, like, if I think like I'm being fixed and I don't want to be fixed, right, then I convince myself that I'm not being fixed, but I haven't changed, so I keep having the same patterns.
mm.
So it's kind of like discovering that's a clue that, if you keep thinking that you keep saying, well, I'm open, I'm not fixed, but nothing's changing.
Mm.
That's like a reminder, okay, well, maybe I'm not, maybe I real am getting trapped in being fixed again. Does it make sense?
Or I'm making, if I understand what you're trying to say, is that yes, I always say, I give an example that maybe is easy to illustrate what is like, sometimes we come to the Buddhist thing and so we come out from being the neurotic, banker or investment banker or lawyer, and then we become the monk and we become attached to the idea of I am the monk, like this. So it's like the same. We just change clothes, but the sense of I, fixed, inherent, is still there, right? So before it was the banker, and now it's the monk. So if I'm seeing myself in the same way, nothing has changed. I just change clothes, right? That's the idea. Hmm?
What with that, it makes me think of like some people that say, like when you're like having struggling with something, and they're
Mm.
trying to tell you like let go of it, and they say it is what it is, right? But
Mhm.
then when they're struggling with something, suddenly they can't say it is what it is. You know, like you want to say, hey, it
Yes,
is what
this
it
is the
is.
kiki.
No, no.
It is what it is for you, not for them. Yes, 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 yes. This is very good. Yes, it's like this, right? So, because if we actually understand that this idea of this solid, fixed, independent, completely, big sense of I, it's our entire, if we understand that this doesn't exist in this way, right? If that we don't need to protect so much, that we don't need to promote, that we don't need to be fearful that this I is going to be completely disappear. If we understand that our entire defensive architect, defensive mechanism that is built, right? If we understand that this is built around a misunderstanding of who we are, right? All that grasping, all this defending, all that fear is based on a mistaken view. Hmm? That's what the point that the Buddha wants to make it. All right? If we understand that this is based on a mistaken view, that means that there is freedom. Hmm? There is freedom. And honestly, one of the things that like understanding that really helps me, it's about developing compassion. Because if I start to understand that the reason why I'm suffering is because this completely misunderstanding of the way I exist, the way it, like, I believe I exist. Wow. All of my fears, all of my problems, coming from that, I start to develop self-compassion. And when I look around and I start to see that people also comes from that sense that they are limiting, as Lamayesh is saying, limiting themselves, thinking I cannot, is impossible, I cannot do this, oh, I am like that, oh, I always been like this, I am like this, I am, these very fixed ideas, then compassion arises towards them. Hmm? That's for you, Johnny. Instead of, thinking that they are like, they just develop compassion. We understand. That means we just lay them, allow them to be like that? No. But then we understand that they are limited by their own minds. Not because they want, they have no control. They don't have that wisdom, they don't have that understanding. So what we try to do, develop ourselves first. And from there, then we can really start developing, unconditional love and compassion towards ourselves and others, and helping each of them to rise into that understanding. Because we don't change people, people need to change their own ideas of themselves. That's what we need to help them. Okay? Does it make sense? What we talked about?
Yes.
So, home home reflection. What is the reflection of the week? I don't remember what we called it. Bob, what was the not homework word that we use? Reflection of the months or the reflection of the week. Yes. And you had to do
Weeks,
homework. Huh?
It was
weeks
a great
reflect.
phrase. I'm trying to remember it.
Yes, reflection, home reflection. I think it was related. Yeah, but we need to do so.
Full of home reflection.
Home reflection. So what is the home reflection? Or it means homework. What are we gonna do this week while you're not, coming and listening to the blah blah blah? What are you gonna do is that you're gonna try to observe, at least once this week when a strong sense of I arises, a strong I feeling arises, right? maybe pride, maybe embarrassment, maybe hurt, maybe defensiveness. You become defensive because someone said something, right? So then you try to pause for a moment. If you can, in the moment that is happening, best, right? And say, where is this I really? Where this I is coming from, right? What is this sense of I that I'm feeling? Don't force an answer. Just look, just try to observe. Yeah. Try to look, gently for that thing that feels so solid and threatened, right? And try to see if you find something, or maybe you don't find anything.
Yeah.
Right? But just try to observe. Maybe you can't do it in the moment. Maybe you didn't realize you're being defensive. Maybe you didn't realize you hurt. You didn't realize you were embarrassed, But then maybe later, you go back and you say, oh, when that person said that, oh yes, I could see I felt a little bit of pride, a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of embarrassment. I felt hurt. Why was that? What is this I that felt like this? What is the I really doing? Try to do like this. Does it make sense? Homework? Well, home reflection. Uh-huh. The reflection for the week, Bob.
Absolutely.
And then next week you tell me, how it's gonna be. What do you think about it? If it works, doesn't work? How does it work? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve.
So
Thank you.
thank you so much. We always
Thank you.
remember
Thank
to
you. Thank you.
dedicate for 1 minute, 1 second. We created an intention, and now we created something with that intention positive. So now that positivity that we created, we dedicate that. So it's like this. Before we were just doing, and then we created an intention to make something positive. Remember? We talked about how to kind of like, make work on our minds, and so we can be free from some sort of blockage to our dissatisfaction, something that is blocking and making us dissatisfied, and how we didn't find happiness. So now we created so many things that can bring us happiness, understanding the I, understanding how it works, understanding how we can be free from these things. So now this we dedicate that we can continue in daily lives, everything that we do, be using that positivity so we can accomplish that goal of being completely free from this dissatisfaction and finding long-lasting happiness. Okay? That's what we dedicate for ourselves and all beings. It's very important, like this. Okay? So we do like this. So thank you very much. Good night.
Thank
Thank
See
you.
you
you.
next
Thank you.
week.
Thank you.
Night.
Have a wonderful
Thank
week.
Safe
you.
See you next
travels.
week.
Thank
Hope to see
you.
you
See
soon.
you
Wait.
soon. I
Thank
see you
you.
Venerable
very
Kalden,
soon.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait.
will we be seeing you here at any
Yes,
time?
very soon. In 2.5
May
weeks. Yeah,
12th.
2 weeks.
May 12th or
Because I
14th.
know we miss you.
May 12, I
We
dare to get
Yeah.
some warm weather with you. Yes.
Very warm.
Summertime. Yay.
And how long are you going to be in Florida?
Well, I'm gonna be actually from May 12 until, let's say, August, but I'm gonna go away for a few weeks, okay? Because I have a very important being in my life, my niece that I need to go for her first birthday. So I'm gonna have to go down for that. Otherwise, I'm excommunicated. How do you say that? From the family.
Excommunicated.
Excommunicate. Excommunicated from the families. I have to go down there for that. But besides that, I'll be all this time with you guys. Okay?
Great.
Looking forward
Great.
to it. Thank you.
See you
Love
See you
very
you.
next week. Thank you.
soon.
Wishing
Thank
you all
you.
Thank
Thank
the
you.
you.
best.